Ponies 24/7, the radio magazine covering the world of horse racing, is brought to you by Woodbine, Woodbine Mohawk Park, Ontario Racing, and Rocket Ship Racing. Over to your hosts, Ann Romer and Larry Simpson.
Welcome back to Ponies 24/7, the radio magazine. Desiree Jones joins us. She is a standardbred trainer, and she's so good at what she does that she's up for an O'Brien Award in the Future Stars category. Welcome to the show for the first time, Desiree.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about being nominated for the O'Brien Award, Desiree, as a future star. What did that mean to you when you actually found out that you had been nominated?
Sure, yeah. One of my assistant trainers came into the barn and told me that morning that I had been nominated, and the process isn't something that I was familiar with, so he had explained to me how it works and how I got nominated in the first place and how people would have to vote. So I kind of got excited even at the thought that I could be a finalist, and when I did become a finalist, that was really exciting. So my family is really happy, and the people around me are really happy. It's exciting for everyone.
And you had a great year last year, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, it was a record best year for me. I mean, some things went really, really well, and there was some things that I wish could have went better, but that's the story with everything.
How many horses have you got down there with you?
Right now I have 18. I have 16 babies, and I have 2 3-year-olds that I'm bringing back.
And as somebody who is just learning about the horse racing industry, that would be me, as a rather newcomer to this show, only a year, is that a big number? Is that a large number?
I think that it's quite average. Last year I had 30, and it seemed like a lot to manage, but a lot of the large trainers that train out of the States would have anywhere from 50 to 60. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's a huge number, but it's a comfortable number.
You're not working alone with them. You've got assistants and assistant trainers, right? Explain that.
Absolutely. So for my stable in particular, usually per every 5 horses, I have a groom. So down here right now, I only have 3 grooms. I have also 1 assistant trainer who trains with me out on the track, and then the owner is actually down here as well. So he kind of works as an assistant trainer as well. So I have actually a pretty large staff for just 18 horses. That's really what makes the wheels go around. It's not just me by myself.
And talk to us about Sunshine Meadows Equestrian Center. That's where you are right now. What's a typical day like for you there?
Sure. So it's a lot nicer than what I remember back home.
Yes.
I've only been down here for 2 years, but last year when we came down, we kind of fell in love with it. You know, you show up at 6 or 6:30 and it's already warm outside. You don't have to take the blankets off the horses or clear any snow. So we get on the track pretty early. I would say about 7 to 7:30 every morning, and we'll jog or train for about 3 hours and then give the grooms a chance to give them a nice put away and then feed lunch around 12 or 12:30. So it's a good system. It's a very comfortable system here. You know, I still remember in Canada putting coolers on and winter blankets and having to clip the race horses, and it's definitely a privilege.
Distant memories.
Yes, well, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about your career as a trainer. You came from a horse racing family, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and when did it all start for you? When did you decide that you were going to be a trainer, and you just didn't walk in to be a trainer? Were you like an assistant trainer before that, or?
Well, this was actually a very interesting road. So my father was a trainer his entire life, and when I was about 13 or 14, he actually took over a training center, operating a training center. So I had the opportunity for my house to be right on the farm. So I was really hands-on through high school and helping him out in the barn. And that's kind of when I really fell in love with the business. I used to go to the races with him a lot more than I did as a very young kid. So he let me train on the race bike for the first time and jog horses. So it became more of a passion then. As I got older, his owner at the time, Stormont Meadows, one of his biggest owners, you know, him and my dad kind of decided that it would be best that I didn't get into the industry as a young woman. And I'm sure that you've heard this spiel before, and there's a lot of opinion in this business, especially years ago, that as a young woman coming up, you should probably have something to fall back on. It's not the easiest industry to cut it in, and it's not very easy to be successful. So I took their advice, even though I didn't want to. I went to school for business marketing. It was something I kind of just picked out of the book, and I did my degree. I got out. I found a job actually doing website development and lead input for a travel company, and I really enjoyed that job, but I still found myself every chance I got just to go back to the barn and go to the races and help my dad. So I eventually approached my dad and I said, it was at the point where he was kind of thinking about retiring or getting out of the business, and not only for myself but for him, I didn't want to lose that passion. I didn't want him to stop and me not to then have an opportunity to train myself. Eric was nice enough to give me my first opportunity to train a little stable, and at that point I took over all of my dad's horses that he had for Stormont Meadows, and the rest is kind of history.
And what does it take to train a standard bred horse, and what makes you sort of stand out from the crowd, Desiree?
I think that every standardbred trainer is probably the most patient human being in the world, or any horse trainer in general, especially when you're working with young trotters. It can be really frustrating, and there's times that you can get really, really, really down on yourself, especially when you're passionate about what you do. I think the biggest thing is having to go through failure. There's a lot of even little things like training babies. One day all your babies might train bad, and you might think, I have a horrible stable, like what am I even doing this for? And then the next weekend comes around and they all train fantastic. So you just have to have a lot of patience. You have to always understand to flip the page, even if it's a bad race night or just a bad training day. Sometimes it's very hard to do, but you have to believe in yourself. You have to be patient.
So when you started training, there probably had to be some pressure on you, right? Because of who your dad was, and like he was an accomplished trainer. Did you feel pressured at the very beginning?
I always say to people I got very, very lucky, not only with my father, but with Stormont Meadows and Eric as an owner. They kind of both just handed the lines to me, and they were always there for any support that I needed, but they didn't criticize many things that I did. There was a lot of times where they realized that I would have to learn things on my own. And that's the biggest thing as a trainer. Sometimes you do have to fail at something to understand that that's not going to work for that certain horse. And there's not actually a guidebook on how to do this, or everybody would follow it, So there's a lot of things that you just kind of have to suffer through. And Eric and my dad, they really were good at doing that. They were good at teaching me what I needed to know when they spoke up, and then they were also fantastic at kind of just letting me learn and letting me try my own things. And the business evolves every year, so tactics change, and my father also understood that, but there's a lot of things that I learned from both of them.
And have you changed your tactic? Have you changed your style of training over the years that you've been doing this?
I kept a lot of my training techniques from my father the same. He was very patient, and he trained a lot of trotters, but I think that you have to take your time. It's one of my biggest beliefs is you have to take your time. You have to have the foundation in a horse before you forge them on too fast. With that mentality, I'm very much so old school. I would say I try to jump on anything new that comes out as well. Like my dad never had magna wave therapy, or people are really big on chiropractors or new swimming techniques. And there's a lot of things that come out that we had never heard of back when he was young, right? So I try to combine the two together with modern techniques and some of his old techniques.
So when you're not training, what do you do to relax?
Oh, wow.
You don't.
I actually try to do just that. In Florida, it's really nice. I really take advantage of our time here because we're not rushing out to go to Lasix, or we're not going to retention barn and racing every night or training at Mohawk every morning. So, I really realize that our time here it's very good downtime. So here I'll go and sit by the pool and have a glass of wine, and really enjoy our afternoon.
So you've got a couple of months where you can train, you can focus, you can also have that glass of wine at the end of a really good day. Tell us what happens when you start up again. How does it happen? What are you looking forward to? What are your hopes and goals for 2024?
Well, regardless of what caliber of horses you have, every trainer puts in the same amount of input and work, right? So we're all just hoping that by the end of the season, we can say that it was all worth it. And going back last year, I really felt like I had a really good group of babies. And as soon as you get there, it's nonstop. You're trucking trailer loads of horses and harnesses into the track 2-3 times a week. We were stabled at a farm with a half-mile track, so we ended up having to ship into Mohawk a lot more than we wanted to, but it was good experience for the horses, and it was great for the trotters. The turns are a lot bigger. It just worked out better. So as much as it was a lot of really, really hard work for my grooms and myself, they put it in and I put it in, and in the end it paid off. But you're really aiming for those big races. You know, you kind of go home and you weed out the horses that you don't think are going to be top caliber stakes horses, and you do that sometime after qualifiers, and then the ones that you are really, really high on, you try to aim them for the big ones, and all you can really do is manage them the best that you can and aim them for those dates. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes your heart falls out of your chest. So that's, yeah.
You are so focused, so articulate, and you're only 30. I can't believe it. You've got such a great future ahead of you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, before we let you go, Desiree, we started this interview with mention that you have been nominated for an O'Brien Award.
Woohoo!
And I believe that's in February. What does it mean to you in your career if you win?
Oh, wow. Well, I know I'm stabled down here at Sunshine Meadows with trainers that have been nominated for multiple O'Brien Awards, and it was something I looked up to them coming up, like Casey Coleman down here with me. She's been nominated for countless. I have Freddie Grant down here. He's in the Hall of Fame back home. Like, you're just surrounded by people that have been so successful, and just to have one O'Brien Award standing next to them is such an honor, and it makes the people around you that root for you proud. So I think that that's what's very important to me.
And who will you thank first when you win?
I would thank my dad and Eric Baker, and then, of course, Gino. Gino's the one that has put in all of this money and all of the passion. He puts a lot forward here for us, and it's everything that he has is on the line, and he trusts us, and all we can really do is forge forward and hope that we can make back some of his money.
Well, Desiree, thanks for doing this, and good luck with the O'Brien Awards, and good luck with the season this year.
Yes, thank you very much, guys. Thank you for having me.
And we will be watching you, Desiree Jones. Thank you.
Thank you.